Okay, we're back to study the Surangama Sutra, and we're gonna pick up where we left off. I can figure out what's happening. And yeah, so we just finished the Buddha explain the states that we may encounter as we destroy the 5 aggregates. And we're just past that part. So if you're interested in hearing more about that, just go ahead and watch previous recordings of the service. So picking up on page 325, page 325, after hearing the Buddha's instruction, Ananda rose from his seat and prostrated himself with his head at his feet. Since he had received the teaching, which he could now remember well, he said, as the Buddha has said, the 5 kinds of falsehood arising from the 5 aggregates are due to the thinking mind, but we have not heard your explanation in detail. Further, should the 5 aggregates be wiped out simultaneously or separately, one after another? What are their boundaries? Will you be compassionate enough to teach us so that everyone can hear and everyone here can cleanse his mind eye and be the future guiding eye for living beings in the Dharma ending age? And as a reminder, the 5 aggregates are form, feeling, perception, mental fabrication, and consciousness. Form is just naming or labeling. That is to say, like, I see this is a carpet, right? Perception is just a sensory contact. I see the carpet. Well, I'm sorry. Feeling is just sensory contact. Perception is sensory contact and form. I see it and I call it a carpet. Mental fabrication. I have a guy behind me. Mental fabrication is anything, thinking about something that's not within your realm of sense, thinking about maybe what the backyard looks like, maybe what the front yard looks like. I can't see it, so it's considered mental fabrication. And consciousness is just knowing and understanding. It is the previous experiences with objects that lead us to be able to have the form arise, that is knowing this to call as a carpet, that is, you know, being able to imagine the front yard. So those are the 5 aggregates that we're referring to. Continuing on. Oh, I see your hand is up, Takeo. Go ahead.
Just remind everyone that the 5 aggregates, although they are real, they are unreal, and they are the aggregates that make up the path of suffering, not well-being. So if you think that having understanding, because it is part of your consciousness, will make you happy, then that is incorrect. So because the consciousness, meaning knowing and understanding, and the thinking that you know and understand is not the practice. So naming is not the practice. Contact is not the practice. Naming with contact or meaning is not the practice. Mental fabrication, which is imagination, is not the practice, and neither is thinking that you know and understand. None of those are the source of well-being. None of them are the true source of well-being. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry about that. Thank you so much.
Did you want to do every other one?
Sure. The Buddha said, Ananda, pure reality is profound enlightenment, and basic enlightenment is perfect and pure, containing neither birth and death, nor any impurities, nor even voidness, all of which spring from false thinking. From the profound enlightened true essence of basic enlightenment arises the illusion of a material universe in the same way. There's no note to that. In the same way that Datta deceived himself into believing in the image of his head.
So I do want to finish that sentence, but I do want to talk about this. This is highlighted from the last time we read it, but it doesn't have a note along with it. I think that we highlighted this because he's defining basic enlightenment as perfect and pure, containing neither birth nor death, nor any impurities, nor even voidness, which all spring from false thinking. So you can see, well, we know from our previously in the sutra that enlightenment is the supreme Bodhi that we practice getting to. It is the quiet mind. Birth and death here can refer to anything that arises and anything that diminishes, which directly can apply to our thoughts. And you can see with the exercise that we did during the Dharma talk, how that applies to our quiet mind. It's neither birth nor death. It's not the thought arising or the thought diminishing. It's the quietness where neither exist. And impurities would be any of the 5 aggregates arising would be considered an impurity, because now we are putting our own, we're not seeing things or experiencing things for what they are. We are putting essentially a screen over our perception of the world with our own, aggregate form, feeling, perception, mental fabrication, consciousness. As soon as I call it a rug, now it is something. And when it is something, it has an opposite. It closes my mind to other possibilities of what it could be. It's just like I'm depending on this being a rug and me calling it a rug being reality. And therefore I'm putting my well-being in my understanding and my being able to perceive this correctly as a rug. And even voidness. So voidness, I think we touch on this quite frequently because I don't want it to be confused. Voidness, or what is that practice? Asceticism. Well, the practice of thinking everything is nothing. And talk about nihilism. Thank you. Nihilism. The difference between our practice and nihilism is that we understand and accept that there is a discerning nature. So it's not nothing for the sake of nothing. It's not, there is no carpet just because I believe that there is nothing and everything is void. It's having that discerning nature and making the choice whether or not to step into that is a carpet or not, but not making our jumping thoughts of that is a carpet, that is a cushion, control us. We're at the reins of our own well-being, our own thoughts, and we can act on it as skillfully as we choose to. I see your hand is up, Tego. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not to say that there's no carpet. So the idea here is you see quite quickly that nihilism would be solving the problem of the carpet as a source of well-being or a source of suffering, as get rid of the carpet or ignore the carpet or the carpet doesn't exist. That is not this practice. This practice is not the carpet. It's your thoughts about the carpet. It's the ability to quiet a thought that is not productive about an object that is just an object. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Good insight. Thank you. Okay, sorry to interrupt. So we were at
Fundamentally, falsehood has no cause, but false thinking sets it up, and deluded people mistake it for being the self as such. Even voidness is but an illusion. Cause and the self as such, which are the product of discrimination arising in the false mind of living beings. Ananda, if you know where falsehood arises, you can speak of cause, but if fundamentally there is no falsehood, how can you speak of cause? Still less, can you speak of the self as such? Therefore, the Tathagata reveals to you that the basic cause of the five aggregates is false thinking.
Yeah. This is a cool paragraph.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
If we don't know what the significance of that highlighted portion is, I'd highlight the rest of the paragraph because I think it's important as a whole thing.
I know he's yellow now. I like this sentence a lot. Fundamentally, falsehood has no cause, but false thinking sets it up, and deluded people mistake it for being the selfish such. Yeah, so you can see falsehood has no cause, but false thinking sets it up, and deluded. So it would be like clinging to me knowing that the carpet is a carpet, and I have to know that the carpet is a carpet in order for me to be reasonable in myself. It's that attachment to the falsehood of those five aggregates. I mean, needing to be able to label everything and know what everything is as a point of dependency for your well-being.
That would be the false thinking setting up the nature of falsehood, but a good handle.
Right. And I do think it's important to say that I'm not saying that there is no value in labeling. It's just, again, about having that ability to cut off thoughts that are unproductive, to see it for what it really is, and then choose to have form arise if you choose to, knowing the difference between productive and unproductive. Take over. So your hand is up. Go ahead.
So when you said knowing what it really is not to say that the carpet's not a carpet, but it's to say that what it really is not the origin of arising of well-being one way or the other. And so in the practice of this, what is it? It is quiet mind. So the carpet cannot be quiet mind. And neither can it be well-being, nor can it be suffering, because both of those conditions arise in the mind. They don't arise in the carpet. Yeah.
True. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. And this directly applies to our practice, because as soon as we start thinking that we know what we're doing, or I think through experience, we can tell when we're on the path versus off the path. But if you become like the Buddha warned about previously in the sutra, actually just directly previously, if you become complacent and start to think that you have attained something because you are something, that is not the practice anymore as well. Because again, same application. You're putting your well-being into either one of the five aggregates, or it would be one of the five aggregates, because you see that you're sitting on a nice cushion, therefore you are a practitioner. You don't have to be sitting on a nice cushion to be a practitioner. You don't have to have a cushion at all to be a practitioner. Because it really is understanding that the origin of the arising of your well-being comes from the quiet mind, the supreme Bodhi, not the fact that you have a cushion to sit on, not the fact that anyone listens to you or understands what you have to teach about Buddhism. All right. Your body owes its existence first to your parents' thought of giving birth, but had you not thought, there would have been no chance for your incarnation in their thought. as I said earlier, when you think of vinegar, your mouth waters. And when you think of scaling a high cliff, your feet, you feel distress in the soles of your feet. But there is neither vinegar nor cliff, and if your body is not of the same nature as falsehood, how can water come to your mouth when you think of vinegar? Therefore, you should know that your physical body is the first state of congelation of your false thinking, because you're wrongly attributing your well-being to whether or not you're thinking of vinegar, right? You're trying to track down the causes of your bodily function, essentially, in order to try to understand and achieve that well-being. Well, if I step away from the high cliff, if I step away from the vinegar, I'll have well-being because I won't have these sensations anymore. And that's not really the root of understanding where your well-being comes from. That's, again, just that false thinking of wrongly attributing your well-being to these externals, to your senses, to the five aggregates.
Okay. We have spoken of the thought of scaling a cliff, which can cause your body to feel distress. This is the aggregate of receptiveness affecting your physical body, which is thus moved by favorable or adverse feelings. This is the second state of empty reflection of your false thinking.
Your thought can make your body move, but if both are not akin, how can body obey thought's order to act? Therefore, when your mind stirs, body obeys, and both act in perfect unison. When you are awake, your thinking mind works, but when you are asleep, dreams take place of thoughts. Therefore, you should know that your thoughts stir your false feelings. This is the third state of pervasiveness of your false thinking.
Transformation never stops and changes imperceptibly every instant, as shown by the growth of hair and nails and the loss of vitality in old age, as revealed by the wrinkles on one's face. This change occurs day and night, but we do not notice it. Ananda, if this is not you, why does your body change? If it is you, why do you not notice the change? Therefore, you should know that every discrimination does not stop in a flash of thought. This is the fourth state of concealment of your false thinking.
So that's interesting. That kind of points to this idea that we'll be in control of the things that change. I mean, the Buddha said above that it is unskillful to try to elongate your life by means of like trying to become immortal or slow down your aging in that way, because it will cause suffering to your own body to do so. And I like this because it's kind of like yes, the practice allows you to essentially regain a type of control, because you're able to weed out thoughts that are unproductive, but not to the point where you can stop change. Like, the point isn't to stop change, because change is inevitable, and a lot of people have that fear of things changing because it's kind of like you're losing something. And even to the degree of your fingernails and your hair and your body aging, having acceptance that you can weed out unproductive thoughts, but you can't stop time from flowing. You can't stop things from changing. It's just about changing your perspective, so that your origin of arising of well-being isn't on how long your nails are, or how long your hair is, or how nice your skin is. You can see clearly that will cause you suffering, because that change is inevitable. So again, the origin of the rising of our well-being has to be quiet mind. If your pure, bright, profound, and subtle consciousness is permanent, why does it not go beyond your body's seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing? If it is the real, it should not allow itself to be affected by your false habits. Very long ago, you saw unusual things, but you then forgot all about them. Why do you remember them so vividly when you now see them again? Talking about, remembering things maybe from childhood. This shows that the contamination of your clear and still consciousness continues instant after instant in unbroken continuity. How can you ascertain this? Ananda, you should know that this still consciousness is not reality. No. I don't think that's, let me reread that. Ananda, you should know that this still is not reality, and is like a river which flows swiftly but seems to be still. If you do not see it flow, this does not mean that it stops. If consciousness is not the source of false thinking, how can it be influenced by wrong habits? If you fail to achieve the uniform functioning of all your 6 sense organs, your false thinking cannot be brought to an end. Therefore, behind your seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing, there is a chain of subtle worldly habits. And within your still consciousness, there is something which seems not to, but does exist, and which is the 5th subtle state of your false thinking. And you can see that these habits are what I like to call these micro movements. They are the thoughts that might happen quickly, might seem innocuous, but they are indeed unskillful. And if you allow them to continue to exist, they will continue to arise, because you've given them energy. You haven't cut them off, and so they will grow and they will keep arising until you cut them off. And so that's kind of the habits he's talking about. And since our consciousness, our knowing and understanding, is influenced by these choices of what we allow to exist, we can see that consciousness is not the origin of the rising of our well-being. Teiko, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Yeah, because change and knowing are knit together. Your knowledge always changes.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yep.
it for me. Thanks.
And your knowledge is always based off of previous experiences, whether they're delusional or not. I mean, you can remember things from childhood that shape your understanding of adulthood. And like he's saying, you see those objects again, and it's like nostalgia or it's trauma, but you can see how it's shaped your understanding of the world, and of ultimately it can shape your understanding of perceiving these things. Yeah, so this is a cool paragraph, because it really helps us to understand why our consciousness and our knowing is not something that should be clung to, is not the path. It's false thinking.
Ananda, all the 5 aggregates are created by this 5-fold false thinking. As to their boundaries about which you wish to know, Form and voidness are the boundaries of the aggregate of rupa. Receptiveness and non-receptiveness of Vedana, remembrance and forgetfulness of Sanya, Sanjna, rise and fall of Samskara, and the return of consciousness to, and its union with, its substance are those of Vijnana.
So he's reviewing the 5 aggregates and what they are, and he's using the Pali words. So rupa is form, Vedana is feeling, Sanjna is perception, Samskara is mental fabrication, and Vijnana is consciousness. So, and we could see how that applies to our understanding, right? Form is naming, feeling is the sensory contact, perception is form and feeling together. So it said sensory contact and naming. Samskara is mental fabrication, which is just anything outside of your realm of sense at this very moment, or as Teiko said, imagination. Vijnana, consciousness, is that knowing and understanding. And then I do also want to say there is a level of skillfulness that has to be in the mix here. Of course, as we progress in our practice, we can continue to better understand the aggregates and better understand how to skillfully distance ourselves from dependence on the aggregates and eventually skillfully destroy the aggregates within our own mind. But I mean, we all are where we are, and I think that if you're just starting out, you should make an effort to just identify these things in your daily life. Identify where form might be arising. Try to track your thoughts. Try to discern the difference between productive and non-productive thoughts, and try to understand and identify what it is you are basing your well-being on, so that you can familiarize yourself with your own mind, and then over time, I think, and repeated attendance, so that you can read the entirety of the Surangama Sutra with us, it'll become clearer how to skillfully do this. So I do want to say that I don't want people to misunderstand in saying that they should throw everything away, because it's not about drastically changing what you do in your everyday life. It's about drastically changing how you attribute what you attribute your well-being to, and how you understand what's happening within yourself. And Teiko, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
You said destroy. I want you to discern or tell people why it's not destroying these aggregates. I want you to tell me what would be a better word to use, rather than personally saying you will be destroying them.
You could say things like transform.
Well, why would that be important, though? I mean, this idea of I'm going to sit now and I'm going to meditate until all these thoughts are gone. I'm going to destroy them right now. That is not the practice.
No, that's not the practice.
That's not the practice. So to say that the aggregates, you'll destroy the aggregates, is not possible.
I kind of want to go back, because I do believe he actually uses the word destroy.
Yeah, no, I want you to use the word destroy, but within the right context, because right now the way you're using it, it's sounding like it's something that we do ourselves with intention, and that is not how it happens.
Okay. What word would you use? Is it
I wouldn't change the word. I would change the context in which you're using it. One is I'm trying to point to it without telling you what I'm going to say, but I guess I'll just say it. It's a byproduct. It's not a direct control. So your aggregates are destroyed as a byproduct of your practice, not because you've actually physically destroyed them as a matter of practice. It just happens.
I see what you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it can't be from trying. The idea is that it's okay. Good example is a former student of mine had been a member of the Coast Guard, and when he looked out on the horizon to search the horizon for potential other vessels and maybe a light or something, he was told he would never see the light if he looked directly at it. He had to look from his peripheral vision to see the light. That's what this is like. You're not going to see it if you look directly at it. The only way you're going to see it in the fundamental change and the dilution of the aggregates is through quiet mind. And so the aggregates just automatically cease to exist because they no longer need to exist because you're not clinging to anything of the 5 aggregates for your well-being. So what you're really doing, you're right, you said transform, you're correct. It does destroy, but you're not directly destroying the aggregates. You're practicing to quiet your mind, and the quiet mind automatically, as a byproduct, you're going to destroy the aggregates, just like your peripheral vision is going to help you to see the light on the horizon. You're not going to be able to see it directly. So this is an indirect, you're not destroying directly the aggregates. They're being destroyed indirectly. They're still being destroyed, but not directly.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for your insight.
Do you see that? Do you see the contrast between one being an intentional effort, which cannot exist? I mean, like when he was searching the horizon for the light, there's no way in the world he could directly, even if he tried really hard to focus on the horizon, there's no way he could see it directly forward vision. He'd have to use his peripheral vision. And that's what this is like. The idea that this transformation happens and the aggregates are destroyed is a byproduct of Supreme Bodhi. It's just a byproduct. They just naturally fall away, like the scales over your eyes, like the leaves on the tree. They just fall away when the season changes. Same with the aggregates. Just the conditions, the aggregates and the aggregates just fall away. You don't have to try to make them change. You don't have to try to make them go away. You will have a healthier mind. Your thoughts will no longer be unproductive. You'll be able to silence your mind whenever you choose to do so. And you'll no longer be imprisoned by the aggregates. It's a natural byproduct of the meditative effort, the practice of Supreme Bodhi.
Okay. Thank you. That was
Right.
the message I was trying to get across, that people shouldn't be out here listening to this and trying to make these drastic changes in order to end the aggregates right here and right now, that it is a process and a byproduct of the practice. So I appreciate your insight, because that is
Right.
what I was going for.
And that is what you were saying. Yes, it was before, but with the destroying, that's just wanting to help people to see that the word you will destroy the aggregates sounds rather like it's an intentional effort to directly destroy them. That's all.
I see. Okay. Thank you.
You usually pick up on that right away when you see stuff like that. I'm just helping on the sidelines. So thank you very much. Bye.
All right. Thank you. The 5 aggregates arise by piling themselves upon one another. They originate from consciousness and should be eliminated beginning with form. In principle, they all vanish the moment one is instantaneously awakened, but in practice, they are wiped out gradually due to the force of habit. I have shown you how to untie the 6 knots in a cloth, and all this should have been clear to you. Why do you still ask me? You can see how this directly applies to what you were saying, Teiko, where when we're focusing on our practice of Supreme Bodhi, they all vanish the moment one is instantaneously awakened. But in practice, they are wiped out gradually due to the force of habit, due to these unskillful thoughts that we allow to remain, or that we have allowed to remain, that will continue arising until we have essentially resolved them with using Supreme Bodhi and exhausted that thought pathway. So the force of habit is really exhausting that thought pathway so that it doesn't arise anymore. And that can take, I think the Buddha said previously, as many times as you have allowed it to occur previously is how many times roughly that you will have to cut it off before it ceases altogether. And I
Right.
see you're unmuted, so go ahead.
Now, the one comment he made with the falls away immediately upon enlightenment or in Supreme Bodhi is true, and one can practice that Supreme Bodhi beyond just that moment until it becomes directly controllable. The idea then would be that the practice would be noticing where there is no thought, where that thinking ceases, because there's neither a thought arising nor is there one declining. And so you're noticing that there's stillness, and you can control that stillness with practice. And if you notice the thought is not productive and it arises, you can immediately cease it. Somebody else pointed out really good insight too. I don't remember if that was you, may have been you. They pointed out that the idea is not you must have a thought arise. So this idea that you're going to cease thinking is not the goal either. So you must have a thought arise. The idea is that you're not going to let it form. You're not going to let it become a thought that is crystallized. This idea of peripheral vision again, where you can notice a thought in different gradients as it begins to arise, and then cease it before it becomes clear. That's the skill of it. So you're always watching. Anyway,
I can see how that's how you would need to continue,
because
functioning in the world.
Yeah, the ceasing of thought is not the goal. It's not the goal at all. To see, because that would be, I do believe that's impossible as long as we are alive. The ceasing of thought cannot be done, but you can stop a thought. So and let me just say this: you can cease a thought that's arisen, but you cannot cease thought as a whole. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it's that, and understanding where your well-being comes from, clearly and correctly understanding.
Well, as soon as you experience Supreme Bodhi, you recognize, oh, there's my well-being, because I'm not feeling the fear I would have felt if I allowed a thought to continue that was not productive. I do not feel the anxiety. I do not feel the hatred. I do not feel the, I guess the other side would be attachment. I do not feel those things, because I can choose not to feel those things. And in thus doing, I have an awareness of my true peace, my true well-being, and I know where that comes from. But I also can choose whether it's skillful to maybe, if I'm going to a friend's wedding, to skillfully be present with the wedding and enjoy the wedding. That would be productive. And this idea is, but then to attach to that feeling and want to create it again unnaturally would be, unproductive thinking. So the idea then is that this quiet mind becomes and there is no, notice this too, there is no, what do you call that? Eventually there is no, good feeling from quiet mind. It's just mundane. It's just quiet. And it's, it doesn't have to be anything to just be quiet. It just is. And it's nice. And it doesn't have to be nice, but it does, replenish the mind. Think of a machine that is running constantly and you have the chance to shut it down and let it rest. Let it rest. That's what this is. All right, that's my input. I'm very talky today. Very, very talky today for some reason. I don't know why. I'm very talky. Okay, I'm gonna stop. Thanks.
Thank you. All right.
Where
You should
awaken to the source of false thinking and open your mind, and then teach practicers in the Dharma and engage so that they know its falsehood and reject it. Become aware of the existence of nirvana and so stop hankering after the three worlds.
Ananda, if a man fills space in the 10 directions with the 7 treasures and then offers them to Buddhas uncountable as dust, with his mind set on serving them faultlessly, what do you think of his merits from such a good cause?
Ananda replied, space is boundless and the treasures cannot be counted. Once a man only offered 7 coins to Buddhas, and his merit led to his rebirth as a heavenly ruler of the world. How much more so is the unlimited merit derived from offering treasures that fill Buddha lands in space?
The Buddha said, Ananda, the words of the Buddha are not deceitful. If another man, after committing the 4 and 10 sins, and after falling into the Avicii house, can in a flash think of teaching this Dharma door to living beings in the Dharma ending age, his evil sins will vanish, and his hells of suffering will change into happy places, for his merit surpasses that of the giver of treasures, because the latters cannot be even 100,000ths of the formers. In fact, no comparison can be made between the two. Ananda, if someone reads this sutra, the whole aeon will pass along before his merits can be enumerated in full. He who follows and practices my teaching will be free from all obstructions of Mara and will realize Bodhi. This is neat because it essentially says, it doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter what you feel guilty for, what you've been committed of, what mistakes you've made in the past. You can come to this practice and you can realize the Buddha's teaching. You can realize where the origin of rising of your well-being comes from. You can experience Supreme Bodhi no matter what quote unquote merits or convictions or sins you have. Nothing will lock you away from this experiencing this practice.
Let's see. After the Buddha had expounded the sutra, all the monks, nuns, male and female devotees, devas, men, bodhisattvas, Shravakas, Pratyeka Buddhas, Risis, and newly initiated ghosts and spirits were filled with joy, paid reverence to him, and left.
Cool. That's the end of the sutra.
Oh my god.
Yay!
Oh wow.
All right. So, once again, we finished the Surangama Sutra together. We will restart it from the beginning in the near future. If there are any suttas that anyone would like us to read together, please do send in requests. It's like between our readings of the Surangama Sutra is really a good time to kind of visit some of the sutras and suttas that people might be curious about. I know there are a few that we often reread during these times just because they're really good tools to better understanding like what is productive and unproductive thoughts, what are the fermentations, that sort of thing. So feel free to send us requests.
And then send that to your email.
Yes, send it to our email. It's supremebodhizen@protonmail.org. .com.
Or you can go to the website, which is .org, supremebodhizen.org.
Yes, our email contact information is on that website as well.
And for those who are visiting us on YouTube, it'll also be in the description of the videos.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll now move on to our Sangha sharing portion. I'll stop this video.